And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock. Not used to this cold. I may be getting sick of something else. That's what I need, one after another. Yay. Well, I've been working a lot and not getting a lot of sleep. I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. But, man, this time I'm taking all my vitamins, man. I'm not doing that again. That was bad. Now, what I want to show you here is a chart that Jack was talking about. What's for breakfast? Inflation. That's what's for breakfast. Since August of 2010, 6 months ago, orange juice has gone up as high as 30-something%. Right now it's at about 20%. And coffee is over 50% what it was just 6 months ago. Now, how do they spin this? Now, in the article, this is from CNN's Finance Fortune section. It said, yesterday, one of our young Jedi analysts at Hedgeye, Kevin Kaiser, sent me a highlight from The Grocer, an industry time rag, that inflating food prices are making ordinary breakfast items like orange and apple juice a luxury. Now a Wall Street analyst at a sell-side investment bank would find a way to dress this data point up with a pig's lipstick and call it an affordable luxury. Someone working for Federal Reserve Chief Ben Bernanke probably calls something like breakfast non-core or free. But we simpleton non-recipients of government bailout monies call it what it is. Inflation. This is what really sparked what's been happening around the world. And you're seeing it manifested mostly in Egypt right now, but this is not just an Egyptian thing. What has happened is, I'm going to walk you through kind of my view of this. It is inevitable when you have micro and macro management of social and economic systems, you are never going to be fast enough or effective enough or fair enough to determine transactions and standards of living and purchasing and decisions and all that stuff better than an unregulated free market. Just let it go. Only proper role of government, force, and fraud. Somebody says, you're not allowed to compete with me, they're the bad guys. You have somebody say, you have to get permission from, some thug or whatever, they're the bad guys. You have to, sell at certain prices, they're the bad guys. You can only buy from certain places, bad guys. All of this is what government does. And if it wasn't for government, it'd be some mafioso doing it, or organized crime, or a big family that owns the whatever. The role of government was to protect individuals from exactly that type of social and economic engineering. It was to provide freedom for the individual. Those that advocate for government, well, you got to have government or people won't be managed right. Well, the concept they shouldn't be managed doesn't even cross their minds. As time goes on and inflation starts eating into everybody's lifestyle, you see there's anger. It's not right. Something's wrong, and I'm not able to sustain my own life with my own industry and go out and do something because I could get permission from someone. So I go, okay, so how does that manifest itself? Well, it's a gazillion little stories, and sooner or later you get a Rosa Parks. You get somebody that won't go to the back of the bus. Well, this happened in Tunisia. In Tunisia, there was a gentleman that wanted to, provide for his family. He's in the produce area of the central market. And, he gets humiliated and roughed up by the goons saying, you can't, you didn't pay the man, you don't have the right permit, some competitor ratted you out, whatever. So he goes to get his permit to sustain his family of 8. They won't let him speak at the city council meeting. They kick him out. So he douses himself with lighter fluid, lights himself on fire. Now, I think that he survived, and they made a martyr out of him in the hospital and all this. But what does it bring up? This was in Tunisia. Now, in Tunisia, they had the understanding that it wasn't the government that actually did something to him. They prevented him from providing for himself. That makes them the bad guys. So the people, I'm not allowed to work, I'm not allowed to sustain myself, and I'm not allowed to dissent. When you're not allowed to dissent, then it's easy to tell who the bad guys are. Well, then it goes to Egypt. It's now going to Yemen, the Sudan, Jordan. Every one of these have their own little United States CIA, finger puppets that are there doing whatever the United States wants because they can. When WikiLeaks cables started coming out showing this, documenting it, making it clear what was going on, who was really running the show, all of a sudden the people had something to latch on to. They're going, look, we're being ruled by the central bankers, the United States interest, Israel, whoever, not us. We want to rule ourselves. How would they do that? A couple of days ago, I wanted to bring this up, but we've been full with guests. I'm glad I have the time today to talk about this. Was it last night or night before, several different guests, and every one of them had the same message. You have this morning, a representative from the Egyptian government was on one of the cable news. You had Tony Blair on CNN. And what he was saying was this. I mean, this is like verbatim. You cannot let it just go without it being directed to the kind of government that they should have. They are afraid that the people will cast off whatever it is and replace it, oh my goodness, with nothing. What if they just went to local governments, neighborhood government? That's what they're doing now. These people are barricading themselves in their neighborhoods and they're taking care of business. So they don't want any time to go by where there wasn't some kind of a central plan for them being orchestrated and bureaucratized by some technocrat from a central plan office of the national state. This is what Hillary Clinton was always talking about over the last few days, saying we cannot have a void of power. There must be an equivalent. There must be a national entity that I get to talk to. Who's that person going to be? Who are we going to side with? Well, they've already made it pretty clear that Mubarak is not going to be the guy. Now, however he goes and what time frame and how much money, he gets, and he's negotiating whatever the payoff is for him to go and some place to go to, because they had the son of the ousted Shah of Iran on one of these talking programs. And he was saying how much he loves Egypt and thanks to the people of Egypt and Mubarak for allowing his father to flee there from Iran. So I'm like, is there anybody else they can bring out, that will, be in support of this? Any and everybody they can. Now, the European Union or the United Nations peace envoy, whatever the title is that Tony Blair has, try to give him some street cred so he can go in and say, well, we've worked with Mubarak and he's a really good guy on the war on terror. He's been a good guy on representing the Palestinian interest. He's been a good guy on, blah, 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 whatever the stripes they need to put on his sleeve in order for him to be perceived as, a good guy, or whatever the criteria is for the next, quote, good guy that they want to have liaise with the United States government. Is it really the United States government? If the Western powers, i.e. the central banking system and the economy, if they lose the petrodollar, if they lose investment from Saudi Arabia, which is next on the list, if they lose the control and influence over the Middle East and all these little puppet governments, they're in a bad way because the dominoes are going to fall. With QE3 on the horizon, here the Federal Reserve is going to be monetizing more debt. The next round will put them in the number one position to where the Federal Reserve will be owed or own more of the United States debt than China and Japan combined. It's already baked in the cake. I don't know how many different ways I can say it and articulate it, and you're just starting to see the fall of the global empire, because it is global. It's a monetary system is where it's going to manifest itself more than anything else, and it's going to be seen and felt by people in their daily lives on how they live with energy, staying comfortable, not too hot, not too cold, and just simply feeding themselves. It's going to get bad. Enough food underneath your bed? I don't know how many times I can say this. It's coming, and there's nothing that can stop it. All we can do is survive it. We'll talk about more next hour. Be right back. Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. Readers of freedomsphoenix.com are constantly provided the information that detail the real news between the lines of propaganda about government policies and the true relationship we all have with coercive governments. Learn the true condition of our economy, innovations and technological breakthroughs in energy, health, computer science, and space travel. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media, the media that is so last century. Corporate media has evolved into nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but we now have a fantastic alternative. FreedomsPhoenix.com provides constant news updates on the issues that affect our lives in the most important ways. Our liberty and our property are under constant attack, and FreedomsPhoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda while encouraging the participation of our readers. Join us at FreedomsPhoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, Phoenix.com. FreedomsPhoenix.com, where the revolution between the ears has already matured.